Alrighty, we're going to try something different here than you are probably used to on the channel. We are going to do a bit of a lore dive, a bit of a rant. It's just something I honestly wanted to do, and if you're not about it, do let me know in the comments. Like seriously, if you like this in the comments, please note it. If you don't like it, let me know, because I just want to figure out if this is more content I should do in the future, right? So any criticism is welcome, as long as it's constructive. You know, just don't be a piece of shit about it. Yeah. Okay, I think that's really all I had to talk about on that point. So let's just get right into it. If you care about spoilers for the Malus Darkblade omnibuses, this is probably your warning. Just get out of here, because I'm gonna need to talk about spoilers to get to the meat of this issue. If you haven't read them and you are considering it, I'll try to be as light on the spoilers for the first 1,300 pages as possible. The last 200 pages are gonna get spoiled super, super hard. Because it's the point of this video is that Deathblade, the end times novel that features Malus Darkblade, is fucking trash. It's just utter trash, and I really want to talk about it with my fellow nerds. But yeah, the first 1,300 pages are worth reading. Both omnibuses are honestly worth picking up. They're good. They're solid. All right. Minor spoilers time. 3, 2, 1. Where to even start? So I just finished both Malus Darkblade omnibuses. It was a good read. I enjoyed it a lot. I liked Malus as a character. It maybe even started Malus Darkblade campaign into Warhammer 3. It was that good. I went back to campaign in Warhammer 3 because these books were that good. So why am I pissed? Because Deathblade, the last book, the End Times book, is fucking terrible. And Hazel's getting upset because I'm upset. And you might be like, Human Boy, cool. Everybody knows the End Times are fucking garbage. Yeah, but I'm just reading these books for the first time. So if you read them back when they came out, whenever the fuck that was, like early 2000s, and you forgot how angry you were, you just remember that they're trash, allow me to be your conduit to how trash the End Times fucking writing is, okay? All right. Deathblade does him so dirty. I have never seen someone go out of their way this badly to murder a character. Just destroy everything that made them any good, made anybody like them. And he did it. I like some of C.L. Werner's stuff. He's a decent author, but like, I just finished doing my research to make sure I had all the facts correct. Trying to remember what happened over 1,500 pages is difficult. And I realized that Deathblade was written by an entirely different author than the other 1,300, which fucking tracks, okay? It tracks, because this guy had no idea who he was writing about. So, detail time. Okay. If you don't know who Malus Darkblade is, if you've literally only played Total War Warhammer 2 and 3 like I did, and you caught about this character through the video game, the short version of his story for the first 1,300 pages, and what made Malus great and made me actually like him a lot as a character, even though I fucking hate Dark Elves, he actually made me give a shit. Malus Darkblade is the youngest child and a bit of a bastard. His dad is like the top general of Haggraif, which is the second best city behind Naggarond itself, the biggest city, right? So he's pretty powerful. He wanted a witch to be his wife, and she said, give me a son. He said, sure. So he's a half-son bastard of this really powerful guy, and all of his siblings hate him. And all of his siblings keep manipulating the shit out of him. They use him like a sword, you know? They use him to like hurt other people and those things, and he just keeps getting caught up in this nonsense. So he's a pretty meh schemer. He tries to do politics and scheming, he's just not very good at it. He gets through things mostly by, well, okay, one, by being luckier than absolute shit. But he's also a pretty good swordsman. Not the best, but he's pretty good. And in certain situations, he is an excellent, excellent commander. But yeah, they trick him to going north. His sister Nagira tricks him to go north and find Tazarkan, as you all probably know at this point, the demon of Slaanesh that invades his body. But on that journey north, he goes through a lot of trials and tribulations. He has some of Nagira's retainers. He has some of his own, including a lady named Lenara, and she'll be a reoccurring character. But yes, he has this lady named Lenara who's grown to respect him from being a little fledgling lordling's baby boy to becoming kind of a hardened badass. Lunara's seen him go through it all, and she likes him, and he knows that, and he kind of likes her, and it's sort of cute, but they don't really talk about it too much because they're too badass for that. Anyway, they go on the super long journey north. It's very, very trying, and about halfway through, everybody on this party realizes that they're gonna fucking die. Like, they figure it out that Nagira wanted to send Malus north, and either he comes back with the demon she wanted, hooray, or he fucking dies, also hooray. So they all turn to Malus, and they say these exact words: we're gonna betray Nagira for you because you don't actively want us to die. Like, you care about us. And that's kind of a big deal for a dark elf. And it's like, and yes, they said that, you're like, oh, well, they could be wrong, but they're not wrong. He goes north, he gets to Zarkan, he freaks the fuck out, he kills his entire party in a demonic rage that he couldn't really control the demon yet, and he was ashamed of himself, and a lot of emotions going on. Like, yes, he ended up killing them, but it was more of a demon freakout thing than a personality trait. So he goes back south, makes it back home, has this group of ragtag misfits that serve him, including this guy named Howclear. Howclear helps him out through his next whole thing. He goes pirating for a while, and Howclear's with him this whole time. And, like, he saves Howclear's life several times. He kind of treats Howclear like the brother he never had. They're bros. They chill a lot. They hang out. They drink together. Like, they get a pretty grudging respect for each other. And at several opportunities, he could have killed Howclear, and he didn't. And then in the end, they get stuck with the demonic portal because there's a lot of that shit going on. And Howclear could have died, and Malus, like, risks his life to go back and save him, which is, again, like, weird for a dark elf, and it really makes his band of brothers stronger. Then he, like, meets up with some people, does a little bit of patricide, which is real bad. Malekith goes, this guy's a traitor to the state, and anybody associated with him gets the big no-no juice. So all of his dudes get scattered to the winds. But even then, in Hargoneth, he runs into Arleth Van, who's this Cainite assassin who he harbored from the Temple of Cain after he left it. And Arleth Van, at first, Malus thinks he's gonna kill him, and then Arleth's like, hey bro, how's it going? And they end up chilling. And it's like, okay, cool. They're chilling. So they kind of make amends, and they go through this whole adventure at Hargoneth together to get the Warp Sword of Cain. While he's working on that, they get cornered by his brother Uriel because, again, Malus is falling for dumb tricks and politics because he's kind of a dumbass in that sense. And they get stuck in this situation where they have their backs against the wall. Okay? Backs against the wall, they're in a crypt, and Arleth Van says, hey, Broseph, I'm going to charge Uriel. I'm going to fight him in his big dumb face, and you can ride Spite, your Nauglir, the cold one. You can ride Spite, and you could jump over everything while everybody's distracted, and you could get the fuck out of here. And Malus says, no, I'm not going to leave you. And Arleth Van says, too bad, you have to, like, you're the chosen of Cain, and I really like Cain, so go claim his warp sword, Big Daddy. And Malus is like, nah, bitch. So he's super against it, and then Arleth Van just does it anyway. He's like, well, listen, I'm gonna run straight in there and fight that guy. If you don't do what I told you to do, I'm gonna die for nothing. So then Malus gets pissed off. He jumps off. He gets to safety, but he's real sad. And he looks back, and Arleth Van is dying, and he's like, "Oh my god, everything sucks." So he's like super mourning this guy's death, who he had betrayed before by again the patricide thing and turning everybody who knew him into an outlaw. And still, that guy came back to him. Malus really appreciated it. And then we get to Grond, which, if you've been a part of the live streams relatively recently, there's a thing called the Malekith rant that I won't go into now. That could be like a 2-minute video in the future. That's kind of funny. But he ends up at Grond, and there's a demon host trying to take the city. So a lot of things happen here at Grond that are like super fundamental to my argument about Malus being a fucking badass. But like, again, on the character front, that Howclear guy, the guy that was with him with his pirating arc, comes back, and he's like, hey bro, what up? So they become fast friends again. Again, these people won't really abandon Malus even after this horrible outlaw thing that they're all pissed about, but like they end up coming back to him because he just has that kind of personality. And he's busy fighting again alongside Howclear to save Grond when like no one else will, which we'll get to in a different section of this video. But while Howclear's busy, one of Howclear's like comrades said, oh, you're that Malus? I thought you'd be taller. And Malus says, why? And he's like, because Halclear always talks about you. He says you're like the greatest hero of all time. And he's like, oh, bro, that's sick. And then later, Halclear gets fucked up. And Malus is holding the warp sword of Cain. And like, at this point, Tazarkan's almost fully taken over his body. It's real bad. And the warp sword of Cain has Cain's energy in it. So Cain's energy on the warp sword is the only thing keeping the demon at bay. But the problem is it's also keeping back the demon's regenerative powers. So Halclear is laying beneath him dying, and Malus fucks off. He's gonna hold on to the warp sword of Cain to keep control of Tazarkan, ride up to the Chaos Waste, and get rid of Tazarkan. He's done. He's free. He's had a year-long suffering. He's going to die if he doesn't do this correctly. And he stops, and he looks back at Halclear, who waves at him from the ground, and he's like, he's dying. And Malus goes back over, drops the warp sword to let Tazarkan back out. So that he gets his regenerative powers back, and then drips some of his corrupted blood into Halclear's mouth so that he gets some regeneration, and he survives. And he survives those wounds. And then Malus dives for the warp sword, but he's too late. Tazarkan takes over, a whole bunch of bad shit happens. But like, he knew that and took a giant risk to maybe save Halclear. He didn't even know if like dripping some blood into his mouth was gonna work. He did, but he didn't know that. Okay? So Malus has a bunch of bros, like, and he clearly cares about them in several different ways. All right, cool. And the other point I want to touch on from the good books is he is an excellent commander. He's a fine swordsman. He's fine. He gets his ass kicked several times during the book, even with a demon and the warp sword of Cain helping him. He gets his shit kicked in pretty badly. But he is an excellent commander. He is incredible. When he's fighting with, he's on the side of Nagor, which is like a beached black arc. And they're fighting against Hagreif because reasons, whatever. But he has this like pompous douchebag son who is leading the army. He's like the prince of Nagor. And then the lord of Nagor is like, hey, Malus, go alongside him and do like all the actual things. Okay, so Malus goes. He gets into several bad situations with this army that's outnumbered, but through like really good generalship gets them out of some serious issues. And one quick example is like, there's a fight that's going extremely poorly, and when his spearman frontline breaks and the enemy bleak swords are chasing after them, he rallies some knights, some Cold One knights, charges straight down the middle, slams into these unbraced guys, killing a lot of them and causing some shock and awe damage. And he tells the spearman to keep running. And he holds the fight for a little bit, but then like he screams out to the spearman. He's like, figure your shit out, get to the top of that hill, like reform lines. And he does that, and then he gets his knights out, runs all the way up to the hill, and then these spearmen have reformed their lines, so now the bleak swords kind of trying to chase the knights, like run into a full spear line up a hill. It goes poorly, and then he rallies the knights for another downhill charge. Like he took this full route and he reformed the lines while fighting. Okay? And later during that same battle, the enemy had a commander that was a big fucking problem. So he took some Cold One knights and he just launched this absolute blitz straight into the enemy army, went to 1v1 the general, and he's like, all or nothing, betting it on this 1v1 because my army's losing. Okay? So he does that. That'll be important later, but just know that he does that. Then at that siege of Grond I was talking about, Malus, again, is strange for a Dark Elf, because Malekith and all of his dick fucks are just super happy to sit in the Citadel of Grond and just talk and scheme and conspire. And Malus is out there fighting his ass off on the front lines, covered in blood. At one point, Malekith summons him, and he's like, how's the war going? And Malus is like, shit! It's going like shit! Someone do something! And then he goes back outside, he fights some more, he barely saves the city, and everybody around, like, that was actually out there fighting regards him as a hero. Malekith even calls him a hero, and nobody else did anything besides Big Dick Malus. And, like, he managed to rally these walls using like 1/6 of the forces, because he could only rally the forces that were on his portion of the wall, and the city's like circular, was getting siege and shit. So like, he's a great commander. Like, Malekith acknowledges it, everyone who watches him acknowledges it, Nagor acknowledges it, Hagreif acknowledges it, like all this stuff. Oh, and I suppose there's one more thing from the good books I should mention. Everybody kind of sucks him off about having like a godlike will, and that most people couldn't resist Zarkan as long as he did. And then he holds the Warp Sword of Cain, which is supposed to drive you completely insane, and you just start killing people, and you can't stop killing people until you die. And yet he kind of balances these two forces against each other for most of it. He does a pretty solid job of holding back Zarkan in these things. It's tough, but yes, like, he does it. Okay. So that's Malus. I've provided several examples where he is caring for a Dark Elf, right? Like, for a Dark Elf, he's caring. He gets a band of people together. He really gives a shit about them. He tries to protect them in his own way. Like, he'll sacrifice them if he needs to, but if he needs to is the key word. And he's a great general. He is a great commander. He is very good at understanding how battles are going to go, and if it's going poorly, he puts his body on the line to turn things around. Okay. And he's really good at keeping his troops alive. I only gave you 2 examples of his, like, tactics and stuff, but a reoccurring theme is he is good at making every life count for, like, a lot. Like, make you kill 3 of your enemy for every one of you that dies. So what happens to Deathblade? Why am I so pissed? Just everything. Just this guy. The guy who wrote this book has no idea who Malus is. He's just a dumb bitch with a sword. It's awful. It is just awful. It was maddening to read. Okay, so we pretty much have to go through the whole fucking book for me to get this point across. So just know the type of person I set up for you. All right. Right away, Malus sees that Malekith is losing the war for Nagaron and Nagaroth to the demon hordes in the end times. It's the end times, so there's demons streaming in. And Malekith's not doing a very good job. And Malekith's sitting in his house just walking around being all upset and butthurt. Now, other people know the reasons for that, but Malus doesn't. So some lady walks up to him and is like, you should kill Malekith because you're really big and strong and pretty. And he goes, sure. Which, by the way, he should know better. By the end of the good books, he was pretty on top of not falling for people's shit anymore. But, like, now he just, like, some hot lady walks up to him and says, kill Malekith. And he's like, you got it, boss. Walks in there with no plan, honestly. And he tries to kill Malekith. It doesn't work. He gets thrown in jail. Malekith lets him out of jail, mysteriously. And he lets Malus live. So Malus is terrified of Malekith, like, in general. And now he has a reason to be executed. And the first thing he does, for no reason, is when he's put in Malekith's war council, he's just like, Malekith sucks at everything, and I should be king. What are you doing, my guy? What are you doing? What is this? And for no reason, Malekith's like, whatever, bitch, and just keeps going with the meeting, which is also stupid, but whatever. Why is Malus saying these things? He's not a great schemer. He's not. But he's not a fucking idiot. The hell is that shit? Anyway, whatever. Aside from his weird suicidal tendencies in front of Malekith, who he supposedly fears, whatever. Malekith says, we're gonna invade Ulthuan. And Malus says what I was thinking, what? You're losing to the demons, your homeland is being destroyed, and you want to start another battle with someone else who is also fighting demons, and you might destroy the entire world because you want to die somewhere else. And Malus in the book says, that's stupid. And then, like, the next paragraph, he's like, but actually, it's genius. It's not, though. You kind of have to explain that one, author. You can't just have the characters say what I'm thinking, that's stupid, and then the next paragraph go, but actually, it makes sense, with nothing in between. It's just stupid. So then he goes home, and he's like, Hag Rafe, the greatest host ever done. And I was going to kill Malekith because Malekith can't defend us from the demons. But anyway, fuck this noise. Let's all get on a boat and go to Ulthuan. And his army can't fit on the goddamn boat, so he has to leave like a third of them behind. So something he's built over his whole life, he gives up a third of it without a fight. Okay, that's fucking dumb, but whatever. So they got on the boat. That's the end of the dumb shit, right? Nope. There's some lady he like started dating in the comics, and that makes this a little difficult because there's a comic book series during the omnibus. There's a comic book series that happens between the end times and the end of Lord of Ruin. So don't know, but anyway, there's this lady named Vincirix. He seems to like her. She's the leader of the Knights of the Ebon Claw, and he does show an affection for her in the books. So he gets attacked by some Sisters of Slaughter from unknown assassin. Not a problem. Honestly, shit happens. And he's on this boat, and he's laying naked in bed with his lover, and he gets attacked by assassins. The Warp Sword of Cain is just out of arm's reach. Now, remember what I told you about Lunara, Howclear, Arleth Van, those guys I talked about from the good books. How much he went through for them. Okay? He throws Vincirix, who is butt naked, into 3 Sisters of Slaughter. Just throws her into them. And like the book says, to buy him time while he reaches for the Warp Sword. What do you mean to buy him time? What? No, he does not. Bullshit. Bullshit does he do that? Absolutely not. He would not have done that to Howclear. And he wasn't fucking Howclear. He wouldn't do that to Arleth Van. And he wasn't fucking Arleth Van. Arleth Van tried to kill him at one point, and they got over it. They were bros. This is his lover. Like, yeah, he's a bit of a dick. Yeah, he's a bit of a sadist, but like, you fundamentally don't understand this character, man. He wouldn't just do that. He would do some dumb shit about like trying to protect her or whatever, because like, and again, like, yeah, he's a dark elf. Like, dark elves are fucked up. I get that, but like, she's his property. Like, he's, you know, he's very insulted. Like, his pride and everything is insulted if you like try to kill his property. And like the audacity of some Sisters of Slaughter to just break into his room and try to kill him, he would immediately focus on murdering the shit out of them, even if it's a shit idea, before he would do that. But no, he just chucks his lover into him, and she's gonna die. Now, she doesn't die because she's apparently a badass, and that's cool, but that was still a bullshit thing to do. Whatever. Fast forward. We get to the most tragically stupid fight I've ever seen in the Warhammer series. Like, out of every book I've ever read, this fight is dumb as hell. Eagle Gate. They get to Ulthuan. Malekith tells him to go take the Eagle Gate while Malekith goes around. Okay. And Malus gets this idea in his head that Malekith's trying to get him killed for political reasons. Also, he's got a pretty decent foundation there. Fine, whatever. So he gets to Eagle Gate. It's a massive fortress. He's not sure if he can get through. He sends some slaves forward to test the metal of the High Elves. And there's a really weird, unclear thing where he's like, they're shooting really, really intensely from the right side, which means that the right side is weak because they don't want us to know that it's weak over there. And then when he doesn't move forward, he just looks at it and says, there's a hole there. Which, like, I don't know. This one isn't as bad, but I do just need to take a second and bitch about it. What? Like, you throw a legion of slaves at the wall, and you make all this like Sherlock Holmes ass army deduction, and then your reasoning is, anyway, I see a hole. Did you not look first? Did you not look for a hole in the wall, like a giant hole? No, whatever. So he goes, all right, big ass hole. Let's go get him, boys. And he leads his Koldo Knights on a charge. Cool. And in this fight, the first charge, he is for some reason in the back, but whatever. He's there, technically. And Vince or X or whatever her name is dies. She dies. And he is pissed. And he's all sad and he's all upset. Which, okay, but what did you think was going to happen on the Black Ark earlier? Like, if you're so upset about her dying, why did you chuck her into 3 Sisters of Slaughter while she's naked? My guy, figure it out. Get consistent. Do you give a shit if she dies or if she doesn't? Anyway, she dies, the charge fails. Cool. That's not a huge problem. This is where it gets real dumb. So, scouts start reporting back to him saying, hey, there's like a High Elf army coming up behind us. And he goes, neat. And he kills the scouts. And then he sends scouts forward. See how Eagle Gate's faring. And they come back and say, Eagle Gate looks like they're ready for another assault. They got some reinforcements from Krace. And Malus says, neat, and then kills the scouts. And you might think I'm being silly. He's not, like, mad about the news. He's not like, the army is coming up behind us, fuck, and then kills the messenger. It's not that kind of thing. It's presented very much like, just as I suspected. And then there's like a sentence that said he slit the warp sword of Cain over that guy's throat and turned to his advisor and said, Sealhar, we need to do this, this, and this. What? Why are you killing your scouts? Like, why? It keeps reinforcing me that this author just thinks, yeah, Malus is a cringy bad guy. But no, like, no! He doesn't do that. Why would he kill scouts that are doing their literal job? They're doing it well, and he's in a bad situation. He needs every hand he can get. And you just have him fucking killing scouts and shit. What are you doing? So, it's just so fucking dumb. It's so fucking dumb, man. And then he starts like killing off a bunch of people in his army. He takes all of the captains of all the regiments and starts killing them, which doesn't even make sense because in the first charge, it was the slaves and then his Coldwell Knights. What does that have to do with the spearmen and swordsmen that weren't there? You didn't order them to go in. So it's not their fault it failed. And like, again, you might be saying, oh, Human Boy, bad guy is bad. Just, he's irrational. Dark elves are prone to hatred. Of course they are, but Malus, like, what made him a good character is that for a dark elf, he was strangely reserved and cunning. Anyway, second charge is a fucking disaster. Second charge is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. So, he has kind of a neat thing where he sends some Corsairs on the left flank to, like, distract the enemy and make him think that that's what he's going for. And then he sends some Hydras down the middle, which was strange, and I'll get to that in a second. But he sends some Hydras down the middle, where he's like, the Corsairs is the real attack. No, the Hydras is the real attack, and the Corsairs were a feint. Well, it turns out both are feints, and Malus is going for the breach again, which is fine. He sends in some swordsmen and spearmen. Okay. He's there this time. He is there, like, sitting at the portal. He got to the breach first. He mounted, like, this barricade, and then he ordered his troops forward. Okay. So far, so good. His bleak swords and dread spears walk in. My immediate question is, where are your crossbows? What are you doing? Like, what are you actually doing? Why are you feeding bleak swords and dread spears slowly through a choke point? And they're getting massacred. And then he sees the prince of the enemy formation, and he realizes that if he kills that guy, he'll win the fight. And then he sits there. And then he sees his bleak swords routing. And then he sits there. And he sees his dread spears routing. And then he sits there. And he sees his reinforcements start killing the front line that's trying to retreat. And he sits there. And he sees archers shooting all of this chaos. And he sits there. And I'm like, my fucking guy, what are you doing? Your signature move is, if you want it done right, Malus fucking does it. Why aren't you in there? Why aren't you charging the enemy general? You've done this like 10 times before in the books. When things go bad, you get on spite and you ride that bitch down. Why are you sitting there watching them lose? Why are you sitting there shouting at them while they're losing? Why are you letting your men massacre your other men? You have shown so many times, like the battles with Nagor and the battles of Grond, how good you are at taking a bad situation and getting as many people to safety as possible and reforming lines and reforming ranks. or like pulling your enemy out of a death trap, like this fucking choke point. So what are you doing? And where are your dark shards, man? He's like really good at using his dark shards, but for some reason, he's just not really using them at all. And to go back to the Hydras, why are the Hydras a feint on the gate when you're just gonna charge this choke point, which is still defended? Like, you're not distracting anybody. You distracted their commanders for a second, where it's like, oh, he's suiciding with his Hydras. That's kind of fucked up. Oh, he's actually attacking the breach and the Hydras were just a distraction. That's fine. We're gonna kill the Hydras anyway, and we're still holding the choke point. You know what Hydras have? And in the books they have them. I'm not just being a Total War gamer. Breath attacks. You know what breath attacks are really good in? Narrow fucking corridors. You know where you were forced to fight? A narrow fucking corridor, Malus. You know what would have been a way better plan than whatever the fuck you did? Send in some bleak swords. When they start routing, order them to pull back. If the high elves try and pursue them, you cut them down with like dark shards if they enter the little gap. If they don't, the Hydra can breath attack down the line, creating a hole. In that hole, Malus motherfucking Darkblade charges through, goes to the high elf commander, and whoops his bitch ass or dies trying. No? Too reasonable? Sorry, I forgot this is a fucking end times novel. So that shit was stupid. His Hydras are dead, a lot of his people are dead, and they retreat. So his reaction is, kill more of your own guys. He kills a lot of his own guys. He has some of his guys kill his own guys. He kills more scouts that tell him the enemy is getting closer. And my answer is, why are you killing more of your guys? And yes, dear listener, I know you're gonna say because he's a bad guy and he's mad, but that's not this character. Malekith might do that, but Malus wouldn't. Okay. So, don't worry, the battle's not over yet. So, we get to the third Assault of Eagle Gate. This one has to work, or we're fucked. Cool. Malus charges the breach again, because of course he does. He charges straight into the breach. He does some of the fighting this time, and some of his units start to rout. The first of his units start to rout, and he turns to Zarkan and says, take over completely. What? No, what? I must have missed something. Allow me to pretend to go back through that section because I didn't do my research before starting this video. No, that's what happens. The first sign of people routing, he says to Zarkan, fucking kill me. What? He just gives up, gives up. This man of godlike will, like all the characters in this book are sucking him up about how good his will is to hold off to Zarkan. And at the first sign of trouble in the assault he is only undertaking because he's worried that if he doesn't, Malekith will kill him. He's just gonna kill himself. No, not fucking possible. Malus would rather, and I swear this is true, Malus would rather run into the Ulthuan countryside and try and betray the Dark Elves to join the High Elves or some shit like that to keep himself alive. He has done everything in 1,400 pages to stay alive, and now he's like, fuck it, take me. And Zarkan takes over and kills him, shoves him in a corner, tortures the shit out of him. Zarkan betrays him, even after he's like, demon take over, just be nice to my soul. And Zarkan says, sure boss, takes over, and then beats the shit out of Malus inside his brain. Okay, cool. Some bitch named Drusilla saves him. It's Morathi. It's secretly Morathi. They pretend it's someone else. It's written really poorly. It's Morathi. So Morathi ends up saving him, pulling Malus out of Zarkan and putting Zarkan back in a bottle. Malus, after this happens, goes to his advisors and says, so we gotta kill Drusilla, but it's Morathi. We gotta kill Morathi. What? Wait, what? So she's the only mage that can help you right now, due to reasons. She's the only mage that can help you right now deal with Zarkan. You gave yourself over to Zarkan, she saved your life, and as far as you know, you have zero information how she did that. As far as you know, if you kill her, Zarkan will be unchained again to kill you. But your immediate thought is, man, we gotta assassinate this bitch. And you try to and you failed. Why? That's so stupid. Like, that one's not as much out of character for Malus, because Malus isn't the best at scheming, but still I'm gonna point it out. That's fucking stupid. That is the stupidest reaction to have to that situation. You're a dumb, stupid man, for some reason. So then, whatever. We're getting close to the end of this tirade, I promise. There's a final battle. They eventually take Eagle Gate because of reasons that don't have to do with Malus Darkblade, so I will skip it. They take Eagle Gate with the help of Malekith, who shows up to save the day. Then Malus gets a new assignment. He goes in, he fights some High Elves for a while, and baits out Tyrion. Tyrion's kind of the last hope for the High Elves at this point. Okay. Another weird thing happens where I've reread the paragraph 5 times. I still don't understand why, but one of his last loyal retainers, Dothaic, says something about killing High Elves so that they can die with their king, the Phoenix King, who died. And Malus takes this as a grave insult and kills Dothaic, which is... what? Okay, whatever. I don't understand how that was an insult. If you can explain it to me, I would legitimately like to know, because I read it so many times and I don't understand what he was insulted about. But he was, and he killed him. Okay, whatever, fine. In mid-battle, kill one of your cavalry commanders because he insulted you. Sure, that's just the Malus we have now, I guess. It's fine. Nothing matters. Anyway, Tyrion, heir of Venarian, wielder of Sunfang, savior of Ulthuan, best fucking fighter you've ever seen, is here. You need to kill him. You absolutely need to. And Tyrion's kind of a big fucking deal. Well, Malus is strangely focused on some Cainate guy who just got introduced. He's like a servant of Cain. And he's like Malus's political rival in this end time scenario, which is neat, but like, okay. He's teamed up with political rivals before. He hated the Witch Lords of Nagor, but he teamed up with them to further his ambitions for Hag Rafe and to, stay alive. And he really didn't like Arleth Van. Arleth Van was trying to kill him, but he teamed up to beat his brother and, stay alive. He didn't like Malekith very much, but he teamed up with him to save Gron and, stay alive. He didn't like Tazarkan very much, and he's teamed up with him, every chapter of every book up until this point to, stay alive. But fine. So he has this Cainate guy who goes to fight Tyrion. The Cainate guy is actually kind of doing good against Tyrion. The Cainate guy might beat Tyrion, and Malus watches. He just sits there. Tyrion ends up beating him. And Malus says to Tyrion, I was wondering which of you would win. Thanks for killing that guy for me. Anyway, 1v1 me. What are you doing? What are you doing? Malus, I didn't mention this part, but in the good books, Malus would frequently start a fight with someone he couldn't possibly beat. And that Howclear guy I mentioned before says, what are you doing? You can't kill that guy. You can't fight him. And he says, I'm not going to fight him. I'm going to murder him. And he would like trick him or something, like, just allow me to tie my shoe, and then chucks a throwing knife and stabs it into like his throat and something, and then it's like, haha, I didn't fight you. That kind of shit. That guy waited for Tyrion so he could 1v1 him. Okay. Okay. Whatever. And before that fight even starts, okay, again, whatever, Marathi from like miles away just lets Tazarkan go, who then consumes Malus, and then Malus has like a one line where he begs Tazarkan for forgiveness, and he dies like a little bitch. That's the end of Malus Darkblade. That's the end of him. That's the end of this hero. You've been built up over 1,456 pages by the time he dies. That's who you're supposed to care about. And they off him in his own book in a sentence. In his book, he's not a side character. And Marathi just says, anyway, lets Tazarkan out, and he dies. That's it! That's the end of this character! And after how he was treated in this book, I should be happy. I should be happy you finally put him out of his fucking misery. But I'm pissed. Why didn't he get to fight Tyrion? What was the point? Why did you save him at the Eagle Gate just to have him run out here and watch Tyrion kill his sub-commander guy and then set up the duel and then not have the duel? What was the point? Why are we here? What are we doing? Why did he get to fight Tyrion? At least let him fight. Oh my god, just Jesus Christ. It was so fucking stupid. It was so stupid. It's like, oh my god. It's so dumb, man. And like, I don't know, with this whole like, with hate, all things are possible. To go out like a little bitch and like begging Tazarkan, please, Big Daddy Tazarkan, don't eat me. And then Tazarkan eats him. It was just like such a terrible way to go. He didn't go out like trying to wrestle control from Tazarkan with his like godlike will and failing or just coming short, or Marathi like had to really put Malus in a bottle. No, just Tazarkan just eats him because at Eagle Gate he just let him do it, and then Marathi later on just said, yeah, whatever, finish the job. That's it. That's the end of with hate, all things are possible, guy. That's the end of this godlike will that the story wanted you to believe he had. Nope, he's just dead. He's just gone. It was so fucking stupid. It was so dumb. And for like all of the shit that I just went through, here's the little summary, and you might start to understand why I'm so pissed. You might be like, I mean, I kind of get that his battle tactics in Deathblade were stupid. Like, sure, whatever, but it's not that bad. Like, he's a dark elf, he's prideful, yada yada. Take it in a different way. And like, I try to think about it like this so you can understand how pissed I am. Malus being an excellent commander, he was a swordsman second, he was a commander first. He was an excellent commander. And try to translate it to another character. Take Grimgor Ironhide. If Grimgor Ironhide is like the best greenskin fighter you've ever seen. Ever, ever, ever. He's the best greenskin fighter. He's faster, he's stronger, he's better. He never quits, he never runs out of energy. He can just keep swinging. He gave Archaon a run for his money. If you read 1,300 pages of watching Grimgor be a badass and be an amazing fighter, and then in his last book, he's a so dumb brute who's not that good at fighting, and he gets like his ass kicked by a random elf, you would be pissed. You would be pissed. And I would argue that Malus's character was much more about being a commander, and then in his final books, he just randomly was dog shit at it. And it's stupid. And I think that is as important as a character being supposedly good at fighting, like Grimgor or Tyrion, all of a sudden in their last book being, so at it. Like, it's a character trait. And it's not just mistakes. It's like entire just strategies and ways he handled his army were different and dumb. And they honestly do try to explain it in the books a little bit with Marathi saying like this is real. She was like, but I've been exuding my hold over Malus with magic and making him give more and more to Tazarkan. But that's never presented to you from Malus's perspective. And she says it after the fact as very much of a, retrospect, I did this and that's why he was dumb. Like, no, because Malus doesn't struggle with it. He never struggles with it during the battle. He never goes, like, after the battle, that was odd. I feel like I wouldn't have done that, or like, why did I do that? Or like having any sort of confusion. He's just like, yeah, this is how I do things. And all of his bros who have been with him forever are like, yeah, that's how he does things. And I'm like, no, that's not how he does things. And again, I would refer you back to if like Tyrion was losing duels he shouldn't be losing, and his swordsmanship was slower than he's used to, and his blocks weren't as good, and he like couldn't read his opponents. And after the battles, if he like talked to Teclis who like saved him or something, and he's like, oh, I feel like something was wrong or something was off, I think I'm being hexed, and then like Teclis would do something about it or something like that. But no, again, with this example, to be like Tyrion, it'd be like Tyrion losing that fight and doing everything wrong and going back to his tent and being like, I did great. And all of his bros being like, yeah, Tyrion, you did great. You lost to a random elf in a fight, and that just happens all the time. No, it fucking doesn't. Everyone around him would be shitting their pants if Tyrion just lost a fight to a random fuck. And that's the same with Malus. If Malus is all of a sudden a shit commander and just killing off all of his guys for no reason, people would be freaking out. But they don't. They just treat it like it's normal, and it's stupid, and it's bad writing. And you clearly have no idea who this fucking character is! Oh! It was so dumb! And now he's just dead! Now he's just dead. It was stupid. It was fucking stupid. What was the point? What was the point of writing that book? Like, what was the actual objective of writing this story? It didn't further the end times. It was a side thing. Like, Malekith's story goes further. Malekith's story starts before this and ends after this. It's entirely side. You don't need it. If you didn't read Deathblade, you read the other Dark Elf End Times books, you read the other Elf End Times books, you get the gist. Nothing in this was important information. The entire purpose of this book was Games Workshop sitting C.L. Werner down, and they're saying, we hate Malus for some reason. We need you to kill this bitch in the most humiliating, horrible way possible and make everybody who read these books pissed off. Can you do that? And he took the $10 million check, cashed it, and said, hell yeah, and just slammed his keyboard until just nonsense came out. It was stupid. It was fucking stupid, and I hate it. Anyway, I highly recommend the Malus books up until Deathblade. Read through Lord of Ruin and just stop. Just stop. I've heard decent things about the comics, but they're really hard to track down. Lord of Ruin has a great ending. It's just like, it wraps everything up nicely. It wraps up the character. He has a great arc. Like, all these things. Just stop after Lord of Ruin. Deathblade is legitimately not worth your time. It's not. Even if you get the omnibuses, I would argue skip Deathblade. Like, just don't read the last 200 pages of your book. I know that's impossible. I know you're going to read it anyway. But when you get mad and you have a goddamn stroke at the ripe old age of 25, I warned you. Roar. Subscribe, yes, yes.